Okay, so we are live. Hopefully my internet keeps up. Let me know if you can't hear me or something is off. Let me check my audio settings here real quick. Ooh. All right, we're going to turn the microphone way up. It was really, really low. So let me know if that is better. And let's see. All right, so hopefully we are good. Let me know when you guys join. If anyone joins, it is Memorial Day. And I did not plan very well. This was my last week of teaching before summer break. And this was my last Monday of teaching. So I really wanted to get it wrapped up. I did not realize it was on Memorial Day. Normally we do nothing. Today, my family decided to go to picnic though. So I am here just wrapping up lessons, and I decided just to stay home and do it so that I didn't have to go to the church, and I have a peaceful, quiet house. So why not? The only thing is my internet. I'm just praying that my internet keeps up. So hopefully it won't buffer. If it does, just hang in there and it will resolve itself. So hello. So go ahead and tell me when you guys join. Let me know if there are any audio issues. So let me look at my outline real quick. Just did it today. Heyman. That's right. Derek Heyman. Heyman. I can't do it as well as my husband. I'm not very good with that. You're a stay-at-home dad? Well, hopefully you can find joy and balance being a stay-at-home dad. All right, so obviously, yeah, this channel is geared towards women. If you are a man and you watch, good for you, but I will primarily be talking to women on this. It makes me nervous when men watch. I don't know why. I would rather just, I don't know. It makes me nervous. But anyways, hello, Shara. Today I'm talking about finding balance as a stay-at-home mom. So, or stay-at-home dad. I feel as if during the past 22 years of being a stay-at-home mom, for me, that there have been many misconceptions pushed about this subject, and even some from well-meaning preachers and speakers. Being a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean that you fit into a certain box or a certain mold, even though a lot of people want to make it that way. I'm all about breaking molds because my entire life I've never really fit into any specific mold. So there are so many misconceptions about me out there, the way I think, my belief system, etc. And I think people are surprised when I do things or live my life in a way that goes against their perception as a stay-at-home mom. Many of the trad wife influencers out there, many of the stay-at-home moms and wife influencers out there, I don't really fit their role. I'm unique in the way I live my life, in the way I do things, and the way my husband and I do things. There's a lady that's been coming to our church, and yesterday at lunch, we have lunch every Sunday after church, we were talking about just, she didn't really she's not IFB in background, and she didn't really understand the whole independent fundamental Baptists, Catholics, Methodists, why we have to put labels on us and why we have to say that. And I was explaining, well, it's pretty much just showing a belief system. And she said, well, I've never really thought of Pastor Tommy as being a part of any group. He just does things biblically. And I thought that was such a compliment to my husband, because many who know my husband, they've tried putting him into a box or tried putting him into a mold, and he doesn't really fit any of them. I believe that he truly is IFB. He's independent of any denomination, of any set of beliefs, or I mean, even when it comes to eschatology, he's got differences with some of his friends with eschatology, and I think that's healthy. I think when we all think the same and act the same, it's kind of culty. If I dare say it, it's kind of culty in a way. So for us, we've never really fit any specific mold or box, basically. So when I was first married, though, and I was young, I did try to fit into a certain mold. I thought when you were a stay-at-home mom and you were married to someone in the ministry, you had to look a certain way and act a certain way and think a certain way. So I soon realized, though, that when you don't live your life according to your beliefs and principles, not ones people have told you need to believe or live by, it makes you a miserable person indeed. Instead of living by principle, you're driven by fear. Fear of what others think, fear of what others are going to say about you if you don't do things a certain way. And this is another reason I encourage women to not move to a church and try taking on the persona of all the other ladies in the church or adopting standards that aren't even yours. As you grow in knowledge and grace, you're going to become more confident in what you believe and stand for. And you will raise daughters who are confident in what they believe too. Let's go over some of the things that stay-at-home moms face and how we can find balance in this life. And how can we find balance in this life that we've chosen? Because yes, it is a choice, and we need to learn to be happy and fulfilled in that choice. So I Googled things that Christian stay-at-home moms face, and a list of things came up. And if any of you are facing these, this is what the show is for today. Christian stay-at-home moms may face many challenges, including secularism. I didn't even know that was a word, but secularism. Christian parents may struggle to instill Christian values in their children in a world where those values are often marginalized or vilified, or I would say villainized as well, because more so, I was telling one of my friends about this yesterday. It made me so sad because I don't know if many of you saw what I shared on Facebook, but a young Christian couple this week, they were 23 and 21. They are missionaries to Haiti. They were martyred. They were killed by rival gangs. And I, unfortunately, scrolled down to the comments and was reading some comments. And it really made me sad because it was people were just so ignorant and, your blood is on your heads. Why were you over in Haiti? Everyone knows Haiti's horrible. What were you doing there? They were being terrible about it. And some of the comments were saying, you know what, just stop pushing Jesus and this wouldn't have happened. And so we're at a point in our world where not only is sharing the gospel, sharing your beliefs frowned upon, but it's even being, people are coming out against it. Like, you can't be doing this. Don't do this. Why are you doing this? So that is why a lot of Christian parents are pulling their kids from public schools and teaching them at home, because there is definitely an agenda. And if you think there isn't an agenda, you're just willingly putting your head in the sand. There is an agenda against Christians and those who believe in God and those who teach what the Bible says. So Christian stay-at-home moms face that. Christian stay-at-home moms can face isolation. Some say that Christian stay-at-home mom life can be extremely isolating. And I will agree with that, especially when you have younger kids. And then also, especially when you get any type of virus and you have a large family. If you feel like you're at home for like a month, because they never get it at the same time. One kid will get it, and then the next kid will get it, and the next kid, and so on and so forth. And it's like it never ends. Insecurity. Stay-at-home moms may feel pressure to be super moms. Cue the hashtag stay-at-home moms and wives and all the influencers. I don't even like watching their stuff. Most of my feed you're going to find is about food, traveling, and weight loss. That's what most of my feed. Most of my feed is not traditional wives, stay-at-home moms, as much as you would think it would be, because at 43, I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with the way I do things. And I don't really need to watch what appears to be the perfect life of someone who has it all together and is a super mom, because I believe it's just going to evoke feelings of guilt, and I'm not doing enough, and I'm not Pinteresty enough, and I'm not crafty enough, and whatever else. So I kind of avoid that, honestly. And I wouldn't even think of myself as an influencer because I don't have that big of a platform and I'm not that much of an influence. So I'm not even grouping myself in there with those. But I've always tried to be real on this show because this is a mom that does not have it all together and is not super mom for sure. But yeah, stay-at-home moms may feel pressured to be super moms and may feel guilty if they don't meet those expectations. Exactly. Financial. Becoming a stay-at-home mom may mean giving up a lot of income. Absolutely, it's tough. We had a lot of years where you're on the struggle bus. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's really tough. You have to become very budget savvy. You have to have a budget. You have to be very careful with how you spend money. Yeah, it's tough. Feeling defeated. Some say that it can be a constant battle to not feel defeated every day. I've heard of some women that aspire to be stay-at-home moms, and when they're finally able to be, they hate it. They don't feel fulfilled. They are shocked at how difficult it is to parent their own children. They are shocked at how isolating it can be. They're shocked at how difficult it can be. They're shocked at how much they have to multitask, and they would rather go back to working a 9 to 5 under high pressure instances sometimes where they have a boss than raising their own children. So the fact of the matter is raising kids is hard work. It's very, very difficult. Running a home is hard work, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Feeling insignificant. Some say that motherhood can feel less fruitful and inspiring than it's portrayed on social media. Amen. I will agree with that 100%. And that's why I don't follow traditional wives, stay-at-home moms. I just don't, because I feel like most is very fake. And who in the world in their right mind, and I wouldn't even do this, who would film their 2-year-old having a meltdown and just having a meltdown? I'm not talking about a five-minute meltdown. I'm talking about a meltdown where you need to work through issues and deal, because this is Hannah. You need to calmly work through issues, and you as the adult, you have to keep your cool. You have to show them how you work through issues while keeping your cool for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. Who's going to show that? Who's going to record that? Absolutely no one, which is good. You don't want to record your kid doing that. But you're not going to record all the nitty-gritty parts of motherhood, and you're not going to film that. And you're not going to display that for the whole world to see. So the only parts you're going to show are the beautiful parts. And that's great. That's great if that can be an encouragement. But for some women, it can be discouraging too, because motherhood is not full of all beautiful moments. Motherhood is full of heart-wrenching moments, and moments where you despair, and moments where you second guess yourself, and moments where you're like just doubtful of everything you know as a mom. What am I even doing? Are my kids even going to turn out? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with my kids? Motherhood is full of second guessing ourselves, and tears and tantrums and discipline and correction. And that's not shown, so I feel like it can show an allure that, yes, it's there at special times, but it's not always like that. So I completely agree with that. So what are some ways that we can counter these feelings, and what are some things we can do to find balance, and some things that we can do where we can have joy in this journey? Because I want all of you to have joy. I see so many moms that are just burnt out, and so many moms that are despairing because this is not the life I thought it would be. And I was there at one point. I've been there, and first of all, you have to realize that every family is different and every situation is different. And I say this all the time, and I feel like a broken record. I feel like so many want being a stay-at-home mom and being a stay-at-home wife to all fit into one nice little easy, neat box. And that's just not the case. And my husband is not your husband, and your husband is not my husband. And my husband fell in love with me because of who I am, because of who Cassandra is, and because of who Cassandra's gifts are. Your husband fell in love with you because of who you are and what your gifts are. So just realize that every family dynamic and every budget is also going to be different. Some moms might have to work part-time, and they shouldn't feel guilt over that or be looked down on. I've known women before, they've had to get a job, and they would not tell anyone at their church because they knew that judgment would come, or people just thinking they were terrible because they had to work. Like, they knew that would bring a lot of condemnation. And I think that's really sad. You shouldn't fear condemnation from your peers because you you had to take, maybe bills came in, medical bills or some other expense came in, and you took a hit because of that. You shouldn't feel condemnation from people when that happens. Um, it doesn't make you a successful mom just because you're with your kids 24/7. And I've said this before. I've known stay-at-home moms. Trying, the light's getting all wonky. I've known stay-at-home moms that have raised children that were prodigals. I've known working moms that have raised children that were on fire for the Lord and loved Him and wanted to serve Him. So just because you're with your kid 24/7, that does not guarantee a good outcome. Your availability is what's important. Them knowing that they can talk whenever they need to, they have your ear, they have, you having their heart, them knowing that you love them knowing that you're there for them. That's the important thing, whether that's all day long. I found that with teenagers especially, they're more open in the evening hours and at night. Little kids, it's pretty much all day long, chat, 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 jibber, jibber, jibber. But for teenage kids, it seems to be more at night. They're more in tune with you and they want to talk to you more and stuff at night. So remember that you're going to have different seasons. The first few childhood years, those are tough. They're very, very tough. They're rough and they're tough. And some days you're going to feel like you did great just getting out of bed and keeping the kids alive. And that's the most important thing, right? Just getting out of bed, keeping the kids alive, and the house doesn't burn down. That's the most important thing. And some days that's all you're going to get accomplished, and that's fine. You might need to limit outside activities at different stages. If you're at a stage where it takes everything in you, especially if you've had a kid every year, and some women do have kids every year because breastfeeding is not good birth control. And I don't condone birth control on this channel as far as like chemical birth control that's going to mess you up or cause early abortions. I'm completely against that. But I do believe that God put things into place so that we know what's going on in our body every month. And I'm telling you, breastfeeding, some women think they're going to get a break because they're breastfeeding, and that's not the case. And if you've decided to let God have full control of your womb and not prevent in any way at all, then chances are you might have a child at least every 15 months, every 2 years. You're going to be having babies quite often. So you're either going to be pregnant or you're going to be nursing, and that's going to take a huge toll on you. And you have to count the cost when you decide that. And I respect and I'm completely for women that just let God have complete control of their womb. I admire you. You are my hero. But also, I do caution women that your husband needs to be on fully board, first of all, because he's going to be the one providing for them. It's a lot of work. Being a stay-at-home mom comes with a price. And your husband needs to realize that. And it's not just a price on financially, which is a huge price. It's going to come with a cost on your physical, on your body. It's going to come with a cost with your mental state. It's going to come with a cost with how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. And I've heard too many stories of women not being prepared for that, and horrible things happen where they're overwhelmed and they have all this guilt from people saying, you need to do this a certain way. You need to live your life this a certain way. You need to decide this. You need to, never use natural family planning or never do this or any of that. And they've ended up killing them, killing their children and themselves. And I know that's very dark, but it does happen. And it's happened to too many Christian women that I know of, that I've known the family personally, or I've heard of it through, the Baptist world. It's happened to too many. So I want to be the voice of reason, saying, let's just all live our lives the way that God has impressed upon our heart. And if you allow God to have full control of your womb, I am all for you. And if you have decided that natural family planning is the route because your health is extremely bad and you almost lost your uterus with your last pregnancy and you almost lost your life with your last pregnancy, then I am all for that too. And I'm all for supporting you. But as moms, we need to be an encouragement to each other, and we need to stop condemning those that don't do everything exactly the same way as we do. I would never condemn someone that allowed God to have full control of their womb. I would never condemn someone that decided to use natural family planning. I'm here to support you in whatever decision you and your husband make before God, because that is you and your husband's choice alone. No one else is providing for those children but you. So that's what I'm here for. Things are going to get put on hold when you have a lot of little kids, and that's okay. You can revisit it later. The season will go by so fast, more faster than you realize. And I know older women always say enjoy it, it goes by so fast, but it's true. It really does. If and when you're able to make time for yourself, don't feel guilt over it. If your husband is like, hey, you are looking really worn out, go get a Starbucks, go get your nails done. I'm staying with the kids, and you just go have a little bit of time to yourself. Go to the library, get a book, read it. Go to a bookstore. We found the cutest bookstore this past weekend. I absolutely loved it. It was coffee and books, and oh, it was just amazing. So if it's something like that, just don't feel guilt over it. You're going to need a little bit of time carved out for yourself so you don't lose your mind. Some women don't want to sew, craft, knit, and that's okay. I'm one of those women. That is not my forte. I absolutely hate it, actually. But I love to write. I love to read. I love to play music. That's my gift. That's what I love. So it's okay to take some time for that. Some women want other hobbies, and that's okay. It doesn't have to, once again, you don't have to fit into a box. Just because you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't mean you need to sew. Just because you're a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't mean that you need to knit. It doesn't mean that you need to make sourdough. It doesn't mean that you need to cook all day long, The important thing is that you run your house and that your husband and kids are happy. And if that means throwing a chicken pot pie, throwing a frozen lasagna into the oven to feed your family, that's what it means. Don't feel guilt over how you get that done. It's okay to have side hustles. There's this teaching out there that it's never okay to make money. Like, you need to have full dependence on your husband, and he needs to be the only one making any type of money, and it's wrong for you as a wife. And I cry foul at that, and people bring this all the time up, like transformed wife. People will say all the time, what about the Proverbs 31 woman? And I completely agree. She was not just staying at home baking sourdough. If you read everything she did, it actually makes me feel like I'm not doing enough as far as stuff. And she had a side hustle. She considered a field and she bought it. She had other source of income coming in that was not just her husband's income. So I completely disagree with transformed wife Lori Alexander. I 100% disagree with her. I think it's fine if your husband's okay with it, and if you need a little bit of extra income and you're still able to run the house well and you're still able to raise your kids well, I think it's completely acceptable and completely fine to have a side hustle. There is nothing wrong with that. One of the most biblical women in all of the Bible had side hustles. So it's okay to not have them if you're in a different season. So don't feel pressured. Oh my goodness, the Proverbs 31 had a side hustle. Well, I guess I need one too. It's okay not to have one. If you're in a position where you're just like keeping the kids alive and that's all you can handle, don't feel guilt over that. You don't need to be breaking in. You don't need to be breaking in extra money. If when you and your husband got married, it was his goal to have you be a stay-at-home mom, embrace that. Don't feel guilt over that. It's perfectly fine for him to be bringing home all the bacon. I'm more talking about Michelle. She more than guilts women. She hates women. That's how I feel. She elevates men to an unhealthy position, and she hates women. She went from nagging her husband to completely nagging every woman in the entire universe, and nothing any woman ever does is good enough. She never looks at women as having unique individual situations. Everything is broad brushed, and don't even get me started. I could do a whole show on that. She has a horrible spirit. I'll just leave it at that. It's okay to, like I said, not have a side hustle if you're in a different season. Being a mom and a wife is enough. No matter what the world says, no matter what the world tells you, it is enough. Especially if that was the plan all along and your husband is all for it and he wants you to be a stay-at-home mom and wife. Embrace that and don't feel guilt about that. I'm talking about For me personally, a side hustle is from my home. So my husband and I decided but I have also, there have been situations where I did used to work for an arts academy and I taught piano in the evenings and 2 evenings a week. And he actually, that was his idea. He wanted me doing that because he knew I would love it and he knew it would bring me a lot of joy. So he suggested that, and that's when I did apply and I got that. These curls are bugging me. That's when I did apply for that and I got that job. And we have never, anything that I've brought in on a side hustle, we have never depended on that for income. I've always used it for extras when it came to the kids, when it came to anything that I've done. We've never depended on my income. Like it's basically it's mine to see. And I use that for a lot of extra stuff, trips, things like that, clothing, sometimes curriculum, basically anything extra that comes up. But that was his idea. So I have done a few things like that. But when COVID happened, it was just better for me to teach from home. And since then, we've kind of decided that I need to be, even though I'm teaching from home and I'm in here and I'm teaching, life is right outside there and I can hear what's going on. I can get the kids started in their school. I'm here if an emergency happens, if anyone gets hurt. So for me, it works better for me because I have that ability. Every family is going to have to decide. But I think overall it is good I'm for women being in the home, or if you have a side hustle, it being from home. Whether that's baking, there's a lot of home bakeries that are starting now when it comes to like sourdough and stuff, cookies, cakes, different things like that. There's like home businesses starting right out of people's kitchens, which is really cool. And they're getting more and more lenient with like permits and licenses and stuff for you to be able to be selling from home because so many are popping up. So for me personally, I'm going to promote, if you have a side hustle, it being from home, just because I do feel that's the best for you to just be available, be there in case your kids need you. But there are some moms that they might have to get an outside job every now and then, and I don't think it's our place to be condemning of that, or to look down upon them, or to think that they're less of a stay-at-home mom and wife because they had to do this because maybe there were medical bills or there were horrible expenses that came up or their husband was out of a job for a while. Whatever it is, I try to look at things in a different lens for each family and each situation. So I would, as far as work, for me personally, I don't like multi-level marketing, but I know a lot of women have had success with that. But you have to really hit it hard when it comes to online stuff, and that's just not my forte. I'm not good with that. So I've tried Avon Melaleuca before in the past and failed miserably. And like Mary Kay, I've tried all of that and I failed completely miserably. I'm not a salesperson. That's not my forte. So there are different things like that. You can also, if you have a skill, you can tutor. Or you can start a studio like I do with music. There's a need for it out there. And especially with homeschooled kids, a lot of homeschool families prefer doing lessons online. Now I've kind of found my niche and it really works well for me. And I've kind of really patterned my teaching styles after that now, because I've been doing it now for 4 years. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different online things that you can do. There are even online call centers that you can do for a few hours a day. There's a lot of stuff that you can look into from home. The COVID just completely opened up the doors for online stuff, especially for stay-at-home moms. So definitely look into that if you're interested. But yeah, balance is learning what's healthy and what's not. So if your home is struggling because you took on a side hustle, then you need to readjust. Be sensitive to the home dynamics. And it's okay if you don't have a side hustle. But on the flip side, it's wrong of preachers and teachers like the Transformed Wife to say it's wrong to have something that brings in income. I feel like that's just completely broad brushing things and demonizing something that's not a sin that doesn't need to be demonized. So having kids and raising them all day long is hard. Okay, let's just admit it, it's hard. So here's some tips for that. Have friends. Find connections. Don't ostracize yourself or wall yourself out. Never talk to anyone about your problems. Open up to your connections. Open up to your friends. Get help. Count the cost when having children, physically and mentally. Know what pregnancy does to you. Know how it's going to take a toll. Are you neglecting the other kids because you got pregnant so fast? You know, are you able to train them? Are you able to discipline them? Are you able to feed them and keep them bathed and keep clean clothes on them? Or are you, you know, if you just throw all caution to the wind and say, whatever happens, happens, you're bedridden for the next 9 months while the whole house is in chaos. You know, you have to count the cost when it comes to these things. It's better to have fewer children and raise them to serve the Lord than to have 20 and they all go the way of the world. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to firmly believe that. I think some women can handle 20. I think some women can only handle 2. It's just, it is what it is. And I want you all to be joyful mothers and wives. And I don't want you to just be so miserable and having 10 kids in 10 years that you can't enjoy having your children. You can't enjoy raising them. You can't enjoy teaching them and training them. And you're just miserable and you're tired and you're sick and you're just dying all the time. You know, we're meant to be joyous moms and happy moms and content moms. And children will bring that. They definitely will. Children are the biggest blessing in my life. My husband and my children they are my life, and they have been the biggest blessing across the board. But I'm also not going to say it's not hard work and it doesn't take a lot out of you, because it does. Take breaks. Know yourself and know your limitations. So if it's draining you, just cut it out of your life. You know, you don't need that. So two of the main things that I have going on with, besides raising kids, obviously my church, but that's just part of life in the ministry, is Gently Led Sisters and then lessons. Gently Led Sisters really doesn't take that much of my time, only about an hour and a half a week, plus outlines. So I would say a few hours a week, probably, by the time I do outlines and things like that, and make up thumbnails and different things like that. I could hit it harder and spend more time, but what I'm doing now, it's just very enjoyable for me. It's not a drain at all. I love it. It's great. I'm great with that. Lessons, that's something I love. It's also something that's bringing in a side income for me. So that's not draining to me either. Now I am looking forward to my break that's coming up. This is my last week of lessons. I'm looking forward to my break. And I do my summer break because I know that's my limitation. Like, I can't be doing lessons in the summer. So I decided that a couple years ago, and it's flowed a lot better since then. I also take enough time off at Christmas. I take a week off at Thanksgiving. I plan breaks strategically so it doesn't become overwhelming. I've tried different things like Avon, Mary Kay, and Melaleuca. Like I mentioned, I was a total failure at them. It made me realize that that's not for me. That type of thing is not for me. Plexus, any of those, they're not for me. That's not my genre. I kind of fell into the niche of teacher when I started teaching at the Arts Academy, and I realized I really loved it. And it was for about almost a decade now. And I taught before when I had little kids, I also was a piano teacher, but I went on site and went to the church and taught kids there. So I've been teaching pretty much since my early 20s. But that is when I decided this is what I want to do. Like, if I have anything on the side, this is what I would do. So it would be tutoring, teaching, that type of thing. And I don't even think of myself as a great teacher. I would have never said I'm gifted in teaching. Like, I feel like I struggle a lot to come up with the correct words, but God's using that. So if he wants to use that, I'll keep using it. But those things are not draining to me. I've had things in my life that were just a huge burden, and I knew I had to cut them out. And so I did. I realized this is too much. This is a huge burden. I cut them out of my life, and then things flow a lot better. It's okay to make some time for yourself, working out, getting your hair or nails done, etc. It's okay. You don't need to feel guilt over that. When we had younger kids, oftentimes my husband would walk in the door. I would say, "It's been a terrible day. They're all yours. I'll be back in a little bit." And I would get in the car and I would just go for a drive. I would get a coffee, and I just needed an hour, hour and a half to just decompress, catch my breath, and tell myself it was just a bad day. This is not a bad life. This was just a bad day. It'll be better the next day. Tomorrow is fresh with no mistakes. Tomorrow is always brand new, and you can start over and try it again. So I was very open with my husband about my struggles. I'm still very open. I'm very vocal about my struggles. I have to talk it out. I can't compress things inside. I'm a talker when it comes to problems and things. I have to talk it out with people. I have to talk it out with my husband. He can't read my mind, and he needs to know if I'm struggling in an area. Your husband can't read your mind, and he needs to know if you're struggling in an area. So tell him what you need, but when you get it, and this is what I'm going to caution young wives, when you get it, don't demand more and more and more and more and more. Okay, I need 2 hours to myself every week, or I need an hour to myself every day. And then you get it. And then it's, okay, this isn't enough. Now I need this. This isn't enough. Now I need this. This isn't enough. And I feel like it's just our human, fleshly, whatever. Nothing's ever enough, right? You can never have enough money. You can never have enough time. You can never have enough trips planned. So be careful. When you get what you're asking for, just be content with that and make that work. So your husband wants a happy wife. He wants you to be happy. He wants your home to be happy. He wants a happy wife. So one way to be happy is don't neglect your health. If you have a lot of kids, you need to stick around. If you want to have 20 kids, you need to be here to raise them, right? So get the doctor visits, get the early checkups, get the chiropractic care, take care of your back, take care of your neck. I know it's expensive, but whittle costs down if you have to. Stop eating out. There's always $40 laying around that you can use for a chiropractor visit. Don't neglect that. Please don't, because then you'll end up like me after my 5th kid, having herniated discs and requiring a ton of work on my back. Maybe even back surgery. I think if I would have gone to the hospital, they would have probably given me back surgery. So just take care of yourself, please. Shop healthy, cook healthy, limit fast food, eat your calories, not drink them. This is one thing when I started losing weight last July, the main thing I did was I cut out all of my foo-foo drinks. Now, not all. I can find low-calorie drinks. 7 Brew, Scooters. You can get coffee drinks like iced coffees with almond milk and sugar-free syrups that are very low calorie. But that is one thing that I learned was eat your calories, don't drink them. I can have a huge plate of food of like tons of vegetables and a chicken sausage and cottage cheese, the vegetable plates that I like, 500 calories. You could go through Starbucks and get a Frappuccino. That's that many calories. So yeah, eat your food, don't drink it. You teach your kids the importance of healthy eating. They're going to figure out from you and what you're doing, and being healthy is a huge part to being happy. And there are some things that are going to come up that you cannot avoid. Okay, you're going to have thyroid problems. Please get them checked out. If you start having them, you're going to be sick. You're going to have viruses. You're going to have these different things that happen. But overall, when it comes to your overall health, you're in charge of that, and you're teaching your kids how to eat healthy and how to be healthy and how to make sure that that takes priority. So find a community as a stay-at-home mom. I think number one, church. Get into a good church. If you're not a part of a good church, please get into one. That right there has kept me sane more than anything, is a good church. Also, at times it has led that has lent itself to mental problems when going through really tough times. I will admit that. But overall, okay, 95% of the time, 95% of the time, it is provided stability in my life and friendships that I could not have anywhere else. So friendships, connection, stability, community. So church, number one. Number two, friends. I have many friends. I have many good friends. I know I'm super blessed to have best friends in my life. So friends are very important. And then you can even have online communities. I don't feel like this is as important in my life. I do like the GLS community that we have on the GLS, the Gently Led Sisters Facebook page. But with a lot of those things, you don't know those women intimately like you do real life friends. It's online presence, right? A lot of women think they know me because they watch my show, or they're in the Gently Led Sisters group, or they follow me on Facebook. But you can't really know someone until you know them in real life, until you're around them and you watch their mannerisms and you watch the way that they interact with their kids and their husband and, other members of the church. So you can't really know someone intimately until you're around them all the time. So while online is good, it does not take the place of real life relationships and real life friendships. Keep learning as a stay-at-home mom. I don't feel like being a stay-at-home mom and wife is not the end all to end all. You don't just get married and then you never grow. So for me, I'm all about learning and researching and making my mind sharper and, just sharpening my skills, whether that comes to piano playing, my music, my writing. And so I'm constantly trying to learn more, even since I've been married. When it comes to medicines and things for your kids and for you, research anything that goes into your body. Know what you're taking. If it's ingested, you need to know what you're putting in there. Degrees can be had online if you put in the work, if you want to do that. Remember that reading is free, and homeschooling will actually help in this area when it comes to just learning more and keeping your skills honed. Because think about it, for a lot of people, they graduate high school and then college, and then they never do anything with what they learned as far as like math, maybe language skills. Maybe they have a degree in something that isn't even that, and they never do anything with that after they're done with school. Well, when you're homeschooling and you're bringing kids up, that you're constantly refreshing your memory when it comes to math and grammar and even stuff in history books or science books or whatever. So I definitely think that homeschooling helps you stay on top of things and helps you remember things. So it's good for that. But reading is free. I have a stack of books back there that I'm going to get to eventually. I always have something on my Kindle. I always have something in my stack of books. I'm always reading a new book. I love self-help books. I love psychology books. I love historical fiction books. Those are some of my favorite genre. Anything to do with, I've been fascinated with books about the effect of war, because I'm very anti-war. The effect of war on kids especially. And I think that's why The Hunger Games just intrigued me from the first time that I started reading, because she's very anti-war as well. And she wrote those books as a way to show what war does to children. And that's why it kind of fascinated me. And I just finished reading one called, I think, Tears of Amber or something like that. And it was about World War II and the effects that it had on the citizens, like the civilians of the countries that it was happening in. And it was just really eye-opening to me to just see what people go through when their country is at war, just the starvation and the mindset and the people who fought in the war, what it did to them mentally. It's horrific. So I'm very anti-war because of those reasons, and I think war is a racket. That's just my 2 cents in with that. But and all that to say, I'm always reading and trying to gain knowledge, and just to keep my mind sharp, especially even when it comes to writing skills. And it helps my writing skills when I'm constantly reading things that have good grammar in them, good spelling in them. That's going to help me personally. So realize, lastly, that kids are your greatest calling. And the fruit of a family, the fruit of my family, it shows a lot about me and about our home and about if things were real to us, if the Christian life was real to us, if our love for the Savior was real to us, if our kids catch that same love. You know, your job as a parent, as a mom, is not to shelter them for 18 years and then release them. 18 is just an age. Your job is to raise kids who love the Lord and want to continue on in this life. You know, 18 is just an age. It means nothing. Your job is to raise functioning members of society who watch out for their fellow mankind and contribute to light and happiness in this world. That's our job as parents. And if you lose your kids, why are you even a stay-at-home mom? You know, isn't the whole goal of this to raise good kids and a good family? Isn't that the goal of us putting in all this time and this effort? So, you know, all of that. And then too, I've heard so many stories about kids growing up and their mom was depressed and sad all the time. And she just seemed like she hated raising kids and she hated being at home with them and she hated homeschooling them. And I don't want that to ever be said about me. I don't want my kids to feel like they're just this burden, like, oh, I couldn't wait until I was 18 and then I was out of there. You know, Jason's 21, still living at home, even though he's fixing up the house next door. Abigail will be 20 this fall, still living at home. And they don't turn 18 and we're like, kick you out the door, see ya. No, that's not how it goes here. We truly do enjoy our kids and we love having them live here as long as it takes, until they're ready. For our girls, it will probably be until marriage. I'm not going to make a definitive rule because I don't know what the future brings for them. I don't know when they'll meet their future spouse. So I'm not going to be like, we're going to do it this way and thump my chest and pound the desk. Because I don't know, you know, and as parents, we need to be open to constantly readjusting and do what's best for each child individually. And that might look different across the board for each child. So, but anyways, I hope that you all have a great week. I hope that you find joy and fulfillment in being a stay-at-home mom and wife, because I truly believe, and this is what I promote on this channel, that it is the best life there is. I truly believe that being a mom is my highest calling and it trumps anything else. Being a good wife and a mom and raising kids who love the Lord and want to glorify Him with their lives, that is my highest calling. And I don't believe God meant for me to be a scientist, and I don't believe God meant for me to be going to the moon or finding cures for cancer. I believe I am exactly where God wanted me. And if you are in the role of a wife and a mom, you are exactly where God wants you. And there is no higher calling, and there is no reason to feel guilt. Embrace your role. Embrace being a mom. Embrace being a wife. Embrace that and be joyful while doing it. You know, smile at your kids, love on your kids, kiss your kids, tickle your kids, roughhouse with your kids. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the life that God has given you, because we are the greatest example for our kids choosing this lifestyle as well. If you're constantly miserable, why would they want anything to do with that? If you're constantly depressed and constantly sad and constantly crying and constantly bemoaning how awful your life as a stay-at-home mom is, why would your kids choose that? So have a life that your kids would choose. That's my tip for you. Have a life that your kids would choose. So with that, I will let you go, and I hope you all have a great Memorial Day, what's left of it, and I hope to see you next week.